Hello, everybody. Stu Smith and Jeff Nichols here with another Tactical Fitness Report. And today we're going to talk about actually just to answer a question that someone recently asked us. And he is a collegiate athlete, and he is trying to figure out how to add in some Spec Ops prep training, pre-buds type training, while he is a college athlete. So I think we've hit several college or maybe high school, college type athletes in previous podcasts. So check those out, because I know we hit the crew and the rugby player and the hockey player and the football player and the swimmer and you name it. I think we hit it. But this is a little bit different. This is a little bit more in general. So how can you as a college athlete add this type of training into your system? Because you are now part of a system, right, when you are a collegiate athlete. And once again, Jeff and I will kick this back and forth, but it really kind of depends. It kind of depends on what kind of system you are part of. And if you're D1, D2, D3, things like that matter. So first question, Jeff. So how do you prepare for buds as a collegiate athlete? How do you train for areas of tactical fitness that your sport neglects?
Yes. So again, as you all know, I can get very long-winded on this. Depends. So that's why I've had Stu read the questions to keep me bound in here. So
yeah,
it depends is really okay. Stu already touched on what position, all these sort of things. It's best, I think, let's create an example. Okay, for example, I've gotten messages from a starting defensive player from an SEC school that plans on finishing his degree, going into Bud, saying, okay, at what point, Jeff, his question is, at what point do I shift from my football focus? So that talks about he's playing for he's a starting safety for a Division I SEC school.
That's legit.
The focus on that.
And that's a full-time job.
Right.
Full-time job.
Now he goes, okay, at what point, what's my transition look like, Jeff? And I go, well, when football season and your commitments are done, finish school, right? In that process of finishing that school, get yourself healthy. Right? That for me looks like general calisthenics, get in the water, swim. Don't jump right into intense training. Got to kind of let football and that long season, let yourself heal.
Yes.
Still take a bit of an off season, because we're still not in a big rush with this guy, right?
Right.
Then once he gets healthy and he's been doing some jogging and some swimming, some calisthenics, maybe some lightweight training, then we go into prep mode. His is probably going to be much shorter than your average because he's probably quite athletic, especially that position as a defensive back.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then the other spectrum is we could just say, hey, you are a Division II, whatever division, and we're not to say that Division II isn't competitive. So let's be super clear. If you're vying for a Division II national championship in a sport, you probably should be devoting your time to that. So we could keep going all these what ifs. All right.
Yeah.
If you're in a position or a school that's like a club sport, or it's not too serious, or it's whatever, the answer still is you're in the team, commit to the team, finish the season, finish the sport. Don't mix. So I could have said that to begin with, but it's worth saying, listen, this is all part of Buds. You are committed to team. Finish with the team.
Yeah.
Right? Finish
Agreed.
that commitment.
Agreed.
So that's my
100%.
answer when it comes to that.
I think that's a great one. However, there's a lot of other depends to this
tons.
as well, because I am naturally assuming your safety is a senior and about to graduate.
Yes.
What if he's a sophomore and's got 2 more years of that and it's postseason? What does he do during that off-season cycle? My recommendation is, like you just said, you heal from you're on a system. You're on a year-round system with this thing. If there's anything you can do, right, and you really want to work on your weaknesses, because obviously depending on what sport you are and what foundation you have, your sport is going to bring in some serious strengths that you are going to be better at than most people. but it's going to also show some negatives or some weaknesses because you just don't do them. Football players don't swim as part of their workout. So I would get in the pool, right? Even in between seasons, use it as a warm up, a cool down, just work on technique stuff.
Skill acquisition, yes.
Yeah. When you are an active player on any team in college, that's your job, especially if you've got a scholarship that you playing means something else besides just playing. You want to keep your scholarship, obviously. There's a lot of depends in there, like we said, but I would work on things that don't tax you, that don't bruise you, don't hurt you. And, if you're doing this for Bud's Prep, swimming is the number one option. 9 times out of 10, most people need to just practice their swimming and practice their running, right? Especially if you're a collegiate athlete, you probably started working with lifting. It's part of a system. You're going to have a strength coach, so your weakness may not be strength. So you may need to work on some of the others, but I wouldn't let it interfere with your preseason, your during season, your postseason training.
Even the off season, because you're gonna have you should have specific off season training with the team.
Yeah.
Now, so just we're super clear too, swimming can stress you out. So what Stu said very specifically is work on your skill.
Yes.
Not work on your conditioning. Like, it's the ideal time. It really is. It's a perfect time because you're playing in a sport. The implication is that neurologically your brain is moving at a high rate of activity because of that sport. Basically, you're up to game speed, right? So your brain is geared towards like high speed, high speed, high speed. So we get you in the pool where your brain is already geared towards finite execution of sport. Now we throw swimming in there, and your goal is to swim well, not swim hard. And now you can learn. So your brain's already geared towards that during the in-season. You acquire skill in-season, okay? What we don't acquire in-season is increased performance.
Right.
That's why we train in the off-season to manage the stress, so hopefully we can get through the season. It's still a high op-tempo.
Yep. So
we don't want to add more work capacity that's meant to give us in better shape. But we can add work that refines skill.
Yes. Perfect. Great way to answer it. Like I said, if you suck at swimming, go practice some swimming. Not necessarily conditioning, just to get the master the technique of the swim.
For sure.
Right. And you can do that through videos. You can, it's challenging to teach yourself how to swim. If you're a non-swimming athlete, you probably may not have many other players on your team that like to go to the pool after a practice or, during, off-season training. But, there's plenty of resources out there that can, help you, with videos. And, like I said, if you can watch a YouTube video, did you see the guy that watched a YouTube video and made the track team, Olympic level track team, taught himself how to throw the javelin, made the Olympic athlete, taught himself how to throw the javelin in track and field and made the Olympic team.
Nice.
And he was in, what's the big African track team that, I'm sorry, I'm digressing here, but
Kenyans.
Yeah, Kenyans. Yeah, that's it. So they've never had a track and field star.
They've only had track.
They've only had track. I mean, they're runners. They're long distance runners. That's what they do.
Yep.
And however, this guy from Kenya taught himself how to throw the javelin and was in the Olympics this last time. So, and he did it all through YouTube. So if he can teach himself how to throw a javelin on the Olympic level, you can definitely learn how to swim.
You can.
There's on a military level, because you don't have to be a world-class swimmer to be, military special ops. You just got to be competent and have good technique and efficiency. And that's what you learn during your athletic time in college. You learn the efficiency. Now, how about this? Your coach sees you in the pool after you just got through working out, right? How do you tell your coach about your post-college plans? That's another one of the questions. It's
Yeah,
a follow-on question.
well,
So,
and it's such a loaded question for me. The first question is, well, what sort of rapport do you have with that coach? Number one.
yeah.
Like that's going to determine where this goes for me. The option of lying isn't probably there, but also, at that point in the game, I look at it and I go, well, the coach really has no say in what I do in my life, except when he or she perceives that what you're doing is detrimental to the team, right?
Yeah.
And that's their prerogative.
Yep.
So for me, because I did do it in season, but I already knew how to swim, my goal for me was just like, hey, this is my stretching. This is how I'm managing, especially if we're talking about a contact sport, whether it's wrestling or football, whatever.
Call it recovery.
Call it recovery.
Yep.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you're really not lying. It really is improving your recovery state.
Absolutely.
As long as you're hydrated and have eaten. But so that, I mean, I think that like any college coach that is reciprocal to even having a conversation with you, it shouldn't be an issue, right? Hey, this is why I'm doing, this is my future. Like, I mean, if you're a number one prospect in the NFL, the likelihood of you going to Buds, like, again, because that's not the argument. The argument isn't like, you shouldn't be in here, you're my starting quarterback. Well, you're probably not. You're probably the starting quarterback for Oklahoma, right? Or Miami, or certainly not Alabama. Isn't going to Buds. So, like, okay. Yeah. So if a coach is telling you not to be in the water, you got to wonder, like, well, what kind of athlete are we talking about here?
Right. Exactly.
So that's kind of where that conversation goes. Like, if you're – so I think a lot of people are going, well, that's not what we're talking about, Jeff. We're talking about your coach sees you just swimming your ass off, laugh after laugh, huffing and puffing. Well, if I was a coach and I saw my player do that, I'd snatch you out of the water and go, get the fuck out of the water. What are you doing?
You're messing
no,
up.
You're an expert. You're a football player. Like, you're not a swimmer.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing recovery, it should look like recovery. If you're learning a skill, it should look like a skill. You shouldn't be huffing and puffing. Well, and honestly, if you're huffing and puffing and pounding the water, you're swimming wrong anyway.
There you go. Good point. I was just about to say that.
Let's go with that.
I like that. That's good. So how about this one? And I know you won't like this question. How about modifying collegiate training to encompass more areas of tactical fitness if a coach is willing to do this?
It's not even really worth the discussion. The answer is no matter how it's written and perceived, just because, number one, that's hugely disrespectful to the staff and coaches, number one. And two, that's hugely disrespectful to the team. If you're willing to devote time away from a team that you've committed to, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
And then also three is you will never unilaterally train both of them optimally.
No.
The likelihood of you training one of them optimally is difficult, just because of the nature of sport is difficult. So if you think you can balance two things, well, actually really balancing four.
Well, yeah.
Sports are really a sport and two training methodologies.
And school,
right? So it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
And I get it. Everyone's trying to get that edge. And this is going to sound, well, Stu and I have said this. If you focus on the sport in which you are obligated to, that obligated focus will benefit you more than having like multiple like distracted focuses, right, by the end state. Because let's say you're playing for 4 years. If you're constantly distracted and mixing up two training protocols over 4 years, as opposed to training one really, really well and then having a good shift to the next one.
There you go. Yep.
Focus on what you've got in your lap. Do it well. It will serve you better.
Yeah. And, you are part of a team, and you can really work on your team performance, being a team player. All of that's going to matter. And where it's going to matter is when you are under a boat and under a log, that team matters. Mm-hmm. And you being able to perform together as a team is critical. And if you don't know how to do that, that's a very difficult time.
Yeah.
That's
because
when a lot
Stu
of
said
people
it.
run out.
It's because if you take, most sports don't include swimming, okay, unless you're swimming.
Yeah.
But most sports include, again, movements, not exercises, the movements that the PST have. Like
Yeah.
push up, pull up, sit up, running and swimming, those movements outside of swimming, that's sport.
Yep.
So the best way you develop those movements is in the sport,
Absolutely.
the off-season training to enhance that sport. Right. And that's why, Stu, and I keep saying the best athletes for buds are decathletes, the well-rounded athletes. It's not a mystery.
Yeah. Or they were really good at what they did, and then they gave themselves, once again, some time, and they had patience to make that transition. They got the football out of the system. They got the wrestling out of the system. Well, I guess you really don't need to get wrestling out of your system. What you need to
But
do.
you still do because of that grind or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, anything, you got to think like, you know, you ride a roller coaster all day. You get off the roller coaster. You wonder why you still feel like you're in the roller coaster. You know, if you're a collegiate wrestler, like you're a swimmer, whatever it may be, you may have been doing that sport for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Like that's, you may not realize how much of your identity is wrapped up into that sport.
That's a good point.
Or the preparation of that sport. I mean, it's no different than when you get out of the military or get out. It's like, wow, that transition is different.
Yeah.
And this might be the first biggest transition of your life. Really, like you're going to go to college. You're still have training wheels on, folks. You're surrounded by a bunch of people that are your boss, essentially, to include your parents.
Taking care of you.
Yeah. Now you go to the military. Talk about a transition, man. You go from high school senior to buds. That's PTS. That's post-traumatic stress right there.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you really want to look at it, that's what's happening. People, it's like you and I got PTSD going into buds. That's what we got. And then we just got used to it. We just stuck with it for a while, you know, like that's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, you know, give yourself some patience and make that transition, because the benefits that you gain from staying with that sport will far outnumber you mixing two different types of training systems into it. Now, there may be a sport where that actually works. You know, I don't know. You know, is rowing one of those sports that, you know, where some high repetition calisthenics won't hurt you with rowing?
I would say the one thing that I would do in an off season, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
If you're a swimmer, if you're a collegiate swimmer, I would spend some time in the off season just with a 30-pound rucksack on walking around. That's the one thing I would do. Is I would do, like, I know if you're a collegiate swim team, you're probably doing weight training. You are.
Yeah.
I would add in, if I was a college strength swim coach, what I would do once or twice a week, my team would just spend an hour, 90 minutes with a 30-pound rucksack on. They would just walk around campus at a brisk pace.
Yep. I mean, you got to get used to gravity. That's what he's saying. And because that is probably one of the biggest injury issues that the swimming athlete has, as we discussed in previous podcasts. But check out, if you're a particular athlete, check out some of the previous podcasts that we did 40 or 50 podcasts ago.
Oh, wow, right.
And because we hit just about every, you know, athlete,
every sport.
You know,
I mean,
in there.
We probably hit the top 15 most popular sports in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Even all the way X Games athletes, snowboarders and stuff. We hit them all. So take a look. I think was there a last piece of that question that he had, or was that it?
No, that was it. I mean, it goes into some other things which I think make a different topic. You know.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because I were transitioning about like family stuff and and whatnot. Yeah.
But you know, the biggest thing, like I said, I think that you and I both agree on definitely is that, you know, if you're in a sport and you love that sport, or that sport is
you've committed to it. Yeah.
Yeah. You love that sport and this sport is your way to get a college education, finish it and do it well. Yeah. Right. And do it well. And you reap all those benefits from that. However, if you are burned out from your sport, if you are preferring secondary workouts to your primary workouts,
yep,
you know, it may be time to
put the sport away.
For 15 years, you know, it may be time to wrap it up and finish college and, you know, and focus on your next phase. You know, it really, like I said, it depends on a lot of factors. So,
yeah, I guess the only like 30,000 foot view piece of advice that I would say is like, okay, you graduate high school and you're kind of like, well, I think I want to go to Buds, but I'm not quite, I'm hearing Stu and Jeff. What do I do? I probably should go to college. Well, go to college for a year, then decide.
Yeah.
And then I always look at it, if you're still kind of like, I think I kind of, and my training's good, get your associate's degree. Then decide 2 years. You go, okay, you know what? I've got the itch. Let's join the Navy. Well, then do it. But if you're still kind of like, I'm not quite sure, do another year. Just finish the years out one at a time. Because I think in my head, I have this thought of like, if you graduate high school, you spend the next year in college. It's your 9 months of of college work. You're in and out. That 9 months of work, if you're going to try and duplicate that or fit it into an active duty template, it's essentially for every kind of 1 year of college, that's got to be spread out over 3 years of active duty time. Now, don't quote me on that. That's just kind of my own simple mental math. It's like 1 year of college, I can get part-time schoolwork done. It's going to take me 2.5, 3 years. Depends how many deployments I have. I can get more work done on a deployment maybe. But do I want to? So I guess that's my point is this, guys. Like, if you're on the fence, commit to a year of school and training. That's it. It's not like, oh my God, I started college. I got to go 6 years. No. Every year you spend on the front end, you're saving yourselves 3 during or 2.
Well, yeah, because here's the deal. Because you're going to be going to night school after working all day.
Yeah.
And if you have a family, that's even harder to juggle. So get it over with early.
Or you're in Afghanistan, you just did a 9.5-hour mission. You come back and the rest of the boys are chilling out and the buddies go, dude, I got a 6-page paper that's due in 4 hours. And we just had a dick dragger. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm done with college. Like, leave it, man. I'm going to sit here and watch Blade 2 for the 7th time just to spite you because I don't have to do college work. So like we would just harass people, be like, oh my God, I got to do classwork. I'm like, nope, not me.
Yeah, that's
so funny. That right there was where that's what I mean. It's like you're on deployment or you're on a trip in Louisville, Kentucky on a mountain trip and you're like, guys are like, hey, it's last night out. So-and-so's birthday. We're going to have a good time. Like, no, man, I got to stay in the Best Western with terrible Wi-Fi and try and get this paper written. Nope.
Yeah.
Count me out, son. The rest of us with degrees and graduate from the academy are like, I'm out. I don't have to go. So that's the incentive, folks. That's the truth.
That's a good point. Here's another incentive too, because, if you're working out with me here locally and you're an 18-year-old kid, I'm going to give you my speech that says, look, give yourself a year, go to college. And we have a great community college right down the street. And they even have a scuba class you can take for college credit. Mm-hmm. They have an EMT course that you can take. Like if you're completely burned out from high school, you don't want to take –
you might enjoy,
Yeah, you don't want to take English and math again. I understand it, right? Take something that you will see again and you might enjoy and, do it for 6 months. Do it for a year. And we've had several guys go through that process and, they're doing, shift work as an EMT, working out with us, doing shift work as an EMT now. They're getting their paramedics license. I mean, they're doing a whole lot. So they stuck around for 3 or 4 years and they're going to finish with a degree and, and head out,
It's perfect.
It just works, and they're getting a lot of time to train. They're getting they're learning shift hours, so they're, having to learn about their body and recovery of working all night. And then, what do you do in the morning? So they're getting some good experiences already. Their stress, they're inoculating future stresses by doing it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a really good idea to do that. So anyway, that's my speech.
But you see, it's like, it's the people, which it's the unique aspect of the community is like, I could be totally misquoting this, but I know I've heard some statistic to the regard of at any given time, Naval Special Warfare has like 32% or 37 something percent of total population that has its degree. 32 for something like that, or 30. It's a third. It's over a third. But you figure like, oh, wait a minute. You go, only like 1.6% of the population are officers, something like that, 1.4. And you're like, Like 30% of the enlisted population have degrees. Yeah. I would probably say 10% of the enlisted population, and probably of the commissioned population, probably 60% has a graduate degree.
Probably. Yeah.
So you kind of go, oh man, like, so is it education that's kind of like the linchpin? No, it's what you do is what I perceive it as it's a bunch of people that are just seeking information and want to get better.
Yes.
That's the way I see it, and like, so many college students spend a year or two, or like me, 4 in, and I go, I'm just not done being a teammate.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about, finish being a teammate. So when you go into the team, you're still a teammate. You're still been practicing being a teammate.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I think it's a great concept, a great, skill to practice. And, too many people want to work out like Rambo on their own. And, then they come into the buds environment, and it's hard to make that transition. So,
yeah, because it's tough. Like, it's very hard for people, it's difficult for me to even deliver in an example of the level of teamwork and commitment that is authentically taking place at Buds. Like selflessly, authentically taking place in service and help of your buddy. Like,
absolutely.
you see that in sports sometimes, but you see it all the time in Buds. And that's something we're trying to get you guys to go, wow, even as a teammate my whole life, when I got to Buds, I had to up my game as a teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really cool. So don't be shy about it, but practice it. That's why, like, the group that Stu has in Maryland, they all know each other.
Yeah.
And then it's good. Assimilation is good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that handles it.
I believe so.
So I appreciate it again, Jeff. Yeah, you had a great view on this one. I appreciate that coming from a collegiate athlete.
A former old, yeah.
No, that's good. I mean,
gotcha.
like I said, you gotta.
I know my lane.
Play. Yeah, you gotta play the.
So I think maybe
game.
I don't know. We got another couple topics we got to mill about. Maybe extend a little bit more, because Stu and I get a fair number of these sort of questions about what should I do from a common point. Like, this common point as a college student. Yeah. We get a lot of questions, this common point of, like, do I go law enforcement for a bit and then try military? Like, how do I talk to my spouse? And there's a lot of things that we get and we go, I don't know if I want to touch this one yet.
Yeah.
So just bear with us. We're trying to find some topics that are discussion worthy, but aren't, like, I don't know if I feel fully qualified about giving advice about marriage. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, I don't know. If you and I did it, we would do our best, but it'd be a tough one.
Yes. So anyway, keep the questions coming, and we'll get to them. This was a really good one. I thought, I understand your anxiousness of starting to prepare, but, do your job, what you got to do, and, in college, and play your game, and, come back even stronger at the end of it, and give yourself some time after graduation.
Bingo.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. Your buddy going to be 22 years old. Yeah. You got until what, 28, 29?
Yeah.
I think that's plenty of time to prepare. All
right. You just take your time. Yeah.
All right.
All right, Stu, I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you.